Connection speed. Excellent. Timing. Excellent. It is 6:47. Desk situation could be improved. This cap is kind of like the moon floating above the desk. Anyway, if you're not watching this live, you probably want to fast forward a little bit. I will put the timestamp in the description. Otherwise, you know the deal. Unless it's your first time here, you know the deal. We are going to go post this on Twitter, get the people that want to come watch in the video situation, and then we'll get going. I am actually kind of stoked to do this one. I shouldn't say I'm actually stoked as though this is the exception. Of course, I am always stoked to... Oh man, I accidentally made a video before, but you know, we're just going to keep it moving. Let's stay focused here. Whoa, watching an ad on my own stream. No one's here yet in the chat. It's just me. Me on the open internet. Oh, actually, Jordy River is here. What's up, man? Oh, there's two people here. What's up? What's up? Yo, I'm just going to post this on Twitter. I literally never remember to write out the tweet beforehand, so I'm just going to do it right now. But I'm stoked for this one. This should be a cool one. It's going to be a little bit different than normal, which I will explain momentarily, but I'm just going to post this on Twitter. Live. Writing the tweet right now. We're going to call this Shanghai Briefcase Edition. And we're also going to call it Lamarckian Mindset. If you guys don't know what Lamarckian is, we're probably going to talk about it right now. And I gotta get a TV emoji. All about the image. It's not a word-based show. I am talking, but you guys know. It's all about the images here. We're going deep into the mind. Actually, we are. Actually, we really are. It's a joke, but it's also real. What's up? Yeah, I started way early. Yo, honestly, yeah, I like to have like 10 minutes or so in the beginning just to... Well, I do it partially so people can come in, but honestly I do it because sometimes I go to push go live and then there's like some random problem. So I like to have a little bit of like the 10-minute beginner. Also, then I get to kind of like, not warm up. I mean, I'm warmed up. I've had a ton of caffeine. But I could like talk to you guys and it's like a little like buffer zone. We're right now we're in the buffer zone. So if you know, have to use the restroom, you're finishing dinner, you just, you know, ran from your significant other to come because you got the bell notification, you do have a minute. Okay. And I gotta post the image. Gotta get that image. Maybe we'll look at a book right now or something. I have a ton of stuff here actually that I kind of want to show you guys. I don't know what we're gonna get to, but it should be tight. Got the pick. Oh yeah, make sure there's no typos in the tweet. OPHANIM painting hours live. Okay, I am posting the tweet. This is the part of the show where you watch me tweet. This is how it all happens. It has been tweeted. That means everyone here probably has like Bell Gang or something. That's perfect. Who has the bell notification on. So this is the real crew. I should just lock the stream with these 13 to 15 people right now, and this will be it. Only the real people. Okay, make sure I posted. I got OBS up. So this is going to be a cool one. Well, it's going to be interesting. It will be cool, obviously, because I'm doing it and because you guys are here. And the real cool part is the camaraderie that we all feel together. Maybe the cool painting show was the friends that we made along the way. But we're going to do a little bit different this time. We'll talk about that in a minute. I'm not going to hype it up before I break out the materials and things we're going to be looking at. I'm just trying to arrange the desktop. Boom. Finally on time, vibe time. Yeah, I had a pretty crazy week. I was posting about it on Twitter, but I was back home, and that was pretty interesting. I went back to undisclosed area in the Northeast where I am from. But yeah, how was your trip? Octopus cooking Twitter thread was twite. Went from that's sketchy to damn, I want to try this now. Yeah, I know, that was really next level actually. I mean, I cooked it, so I'm like, oh, my cooking was so cool. But yeah, that was really sick, man. It was cool. The trip was interesting, man, because I don't know. We talked about this a little bit on the show before, but I feel like as I go deeper into my own like theological and mystical and like you could say like spiritual path, you know, there was really a long time where like human affairs and like the affair. Yeah, no, we're early. It's only 6:53. Where like human affairs and the affairs of like random people kind of interacting just kind of was like noise to me. You know, like different little people with their dramas and weird interpersonal situation. It was just kind of like, you know, just noise. It was just kind of something to be like filtered out. But now that I am kind of, you know, coming into like a different kind of situation, like theologically and spiritually in terms of like how I view things, it's kind of the opposite, where I feel like what's kind of important about life is like how you relate to people like interpersonally. It's kind of one of the only things you can like really totally control. And it's kind of like these little waves that reveal things under the water, like how people relate to each other, you know, relates directly to like morality and philosophy and all these like bigger ideas. So it's kind of a long way of saying it's interesting because, you know, how I like relate to my family, I guess, it's a big part of like my spiritual progress in a way, because I don't know if it's the same for everyone. For me, it's this way where like everything's kind of like roped together. Like maybe you have a problem with like, I don't know, doesn't really matter what it is, like smoking weed too much, you know? And you think it's like some problem you have, but then as you kind of unpack it in yourself, you realize it's roped into like this situation and all this psychology, maybe from like when you were a kid, and that's related to like your mom or whatever. Like I used to kind of think all that stuff was like whack, honestly, but now I kind of do read into it a little bit. So it was interesting going back to see my family because like a lot of things have changed. Like, well, I guess I can go into it because no one can figure out who I am from these like random details about my life, but. Yeah, so like my grandfather died a while, not that long ago. It's kind of going to relate to what we're going to be doing in a second, actually, in a weird way. And now my grandmother is there with my family, so that's kind of like an interesting dynamic where now this like older like matriarch figure is there, kind of like balancing things out a little bit, I guess. And I don't know, it was interesting, man. It was cool. It was better than normal. It's the best it's been. I think also the fact that I like moved really far away from my family kind of like, I don't know how to describe it. I think it kind of like materialized all this like distance that I normally do feel from them. Like it's one thing to be like, oh, like, you know, Owen's a little like, you know, different or distant or maybe feels this like emotional lack of like closeness. But then when you actually move like 1,000 miles away, I think it actually kind of actualizes it for people. Like we're always talking here about how like different physical things can embody these like unseen forces that govern our lives. So I think that now that I moved really far away, whenever I go back, it's kind of like different. Like people kind of treat me differently and stuff. But it was tight. Anything interesting that doesn't really relate to like random interpersonal like social dynamics. I ate a lot of crazy food. I fed my dog a lot of crazy food. That was really tight. My dog went nuts for shrimp, which was really unexpected. I gave her like squid and octopus and all this stuff, and she was kind of like, yeah, whatever, like this is food, like I'll eat it. But then I gave her some shrimp, and she was like going nuts, man. That was really cool. Oh, I showed my dog the ocean for the first time too. That was really sick. She was really into it. She kind of like doesn't it's interesting too, because like I've been thinking a lot about like, I don't want to say like ancient man, but kind of like the deeper, like more primitive parts of like man's brain and like these like deeper parts of our psyche, I guess you could say. And like I see that reflected in my dog in some ways, because she's like, you know, it's like she has a soul, but she's like lower. It's like a lower, it's like less refined. That's how I think of it. Not really lower, but it's like less refined, you know. So like analyzing her intellect is like very interesting to me. And we went to the beach, and she does this at the lake too, but it's like more pronounced at the beach, where like she doesn't actually get that water can move without being alive. So like when she sees a wave, she thinks that it's like living. She thinks it's animate in a way that it's not. And it's interesting because like I always post and joke about like mythopoetic mindset, how like ancient man must have like read life into these like random forces of nature in like a literal way. And it's funny because she kind of like does that. Like we'll be standing right by the edge of the water, and like a tiny wave will come, and she'll be like, oh my god, what is that? Like, oh, what is that? And she'll like kind of freak out a little bit. But we can just stand there, and every wave, she's like, yo, what was that? Oh, and she'll like analyze it. She was digging in the sand, and she like found some water, and she thought it was like a living creature, I guess. Like, I don't know. So it was really interesting, like kind of cracking out and like analyzing her mindset, but she was into it. How was fishing? Fishing was dope, man. I went out on the water like all day, actually. That was another interesting kind of like creative thing. I feel like I kind of just took a week to like refresh my mindset in a way, you know, like I always use the cavern metaphor for being creative. It's like I'm down like deep in this cavern, like digging up these jewels and stuff, and whenever I step away from it, which is pretty rare, you kind of like come out of the cave for a second, and you're like, oh yeah, like there's all this stuff out here, like I kind of forgot. So I feel like I kind of refreshed my whole creative situation. Going out on the water is really always like refreshing for that kind of thing. Maybe it's because of the visuals, maybe it's because you're waking up at like 4 a.m., being on a boat, lots of interesting like visual stuff, but it was pretty tight, man. I caught a bunch of sea bass. That was really sick. Huge ones, man. Like they have to be like, I don't know if I should say how big they have to be to keep them, because maybe then you can figure out where I was, but they have to be like over a foot. They have to be over a foot, let's say. It's more than that, but whatever. To keep them, so they're pretty big, you know. That was really sick. It was really tight, man. It was really dope. 6:58. Damn, that 15 minutes just flew by. Americans are always impressive. So much energy without needing to drink or to take drugs. Yeah, I had some coffee before. But yeah, it's the American spirit, which I've also been thinking about. Been thinking about a lot of things. I don't know. I feel like I kind of like let my mind just like relax a little bit, and then now I can like soak up more information. But yeah, it's been dope. Also in the studio, I often wish I could like show you guys the studio. Maybe one day I will, but I don't want to like break the air of mystique I have. But I brought all these books back, like so many books. Here, I'll show you one. I'll show you guys a book, and then I'll press play and we'll get it going. Because it's 6:59, so they kind of start, but normally I start a minute late anyway, so check this out. This is the biggest book I own. I don't even know if it's going to fit on the screen, even though we're so zoomed out. Does it fit? It doesn't even fit on the screen. Look how big this is. Can you handle it? I mean, I'm zoomed out. Look how big my hand is. I'm zoomed out. Ah, so glorious. One day we'll go into this like in full. Like, you know, we'll go really hard on it. But I'll show you guys right now since I was just rambling about my life for a minute. I'm going to move this thing of water really quick. Just going to move that over here. So this book is, like I said, the biggest book I own. You can also see how thick it is. It's absurdly large. It came with its own box, actually. Like, not like an Amazon box, like a box. And basically what it is, it's I didn't like prep the history because I didn't think I would show you guys, but this guy, I'm pretty sure he was like regent to the 6th Dalai Lama. He was like, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of like a partner, like a bishop. I don't know what word it is. He's like a regent. It's like a partner, I guess. I don't know what to call it. He's like a co-pilot. Like the guy who's like the co-pilot for the 6th Dalai Lama wrote a bunch of these books, and they're called like the Blue Barrel and the Yellow Barrel and all these different topics and stuff. And he wrote one called the White Barrel, and it's all about Tibetan astrology. Look how absurdly large this is. Look, this is my hand in the book. Look how big it is. I have a big hand too, by the way. I'm not going to fix the white balance for right now. It's fine though. And it's all these manuscripts, so it has these pages reproduced, right? But then it also just goes hard. So this is it's the whole manuscript. But then it also goes hard on these like huge reproductions. One day we'll take a look at this. If you were here for like the beginning of Corona, I did a bunch of like Tibetan art streams where I like went hard on like Tibetan art and stuff like that. But it's pretty awesome. And back when I was going the hardest on like East Asian stuff and Buddhism and all that esoterica and astrology and things like that, I bought this and it cost me a heinous amount of money. I mean, at the time, I probably was only able to justify it because I was like doing drugs and I was like, I could definitely drop that much money on this huge ass book. But it's really sick. It's like a complete compendium of like Tibetan astrology, like in toto, like the entire thing. Like if you had no life whatsoever and you sat down and just cracked out on this whole book, you would be like equipped to be a complete and total like Tibetan astrologer, which is, as you obviously know, unless this is the first time you're ever checking out anything I've done, not the path my life is going down currently, but it is pretty sick. I mean, just the aesthetics even. It's such a good aesthetic. Tibetan art's really cool. We're not going to talk about it too much right now, but it's really tight because it's like right in between Indian and Chinese painting, but then it also has that like Central Asian shamanism woven in. And the main thing I like about this stuff now I don't like do astrology now, obviously. It's not my vibe anymore. But it's just how they pack so much information into the picture. Like even here, you know, whatever this is going on is cool, but there's all these animals on the outside, and there's 5 of them, 1 for each element, and it creates this system of like 60 years. It makes this big like 60-year cycle. So it's pretty tight, and we could just spend the whole time looking at this, but we're not. We're starting on time. We're going to do this. I see some cool questions in the chat. We're going to get to talking. We're going to get to looking at stuff. Wow, did you hear the noise that book made when I threw it on the floor? That was insane. Such a good day. All right, it's time. Let's do this. All right, it is time. I'm gonna turn my fan off just in case you can hear the fan on the mic. What's going on, everybody? How are you guys doing? I'm doing great. I'm stoked to be here. We just talked about it, but feeling good to be back in the studio. I feel like, I'm not gonna go into it because we literally just talked about it, but I feel like I'm ready to hit the ground running so much harder. Being away from the art for like a week or so made me like really reevaluate, and going to focus more on like big stuff and like putting out some more powerful visual materials. I got a few things squared away, so I'm stoked. I'm amped, and I'm glad that you're here in the chat. Maybe just watching. Maybe you're not typing away in the chat. It's all good though. And I'm kind of excited right now because I'm going to do something a little bit different right now. And actually, I don't even know how it's going to go. I guess I'm somewhat of a performer. I don't think of myself that way, but doing a show, I guess that makes me a little bit of a performer. And that means that sometimes I got to mix in a little bit of the unknown, a little bit of the chaotic situation makes things exciting. We talk about this a lot. I like to meta talk about like how I'm learning how to run the show, and like, I use the analogy, if I know how everything's going to go, if I have like A, B, and C mapped out and I have the script and it's all, that's cool, but you can feel it's not really very like lively, nor do we want to be on the other side where it's just pure chaos and I have no idea what's going on. So we're trying to land somewhere in the middle. But right now, I actually don't know what's going to happen. And you're wondering, Owen, how can you not know what's going to happen? You're the one hosting the painting show, and if you don't know, then who knows? And I'll tell you why. I have an item that I picked up and it opened, but I have to have it closed so I get the full effect. What is this? What is this strange item I have procured? You saw the title and you thought, it's probably just Owen making weird titles, loves to give the show crazy titles, but actually, there is a real briefcase from China. There is a real briefcase from Shanghai, and it's right here, and that's why this episode is called Shanghai Briefcase Edition. And it's kind of interesting because, we talk a lot about art, visuals. I end up talking about my own life on Twitter and here because that relates to all these larger ideas like about life and spirituality that then relate back into the art. And it's all a big mess. It's all a big tangled web of, your interpersonal life, yourself, your worldview, the media you make and consume. It's all woven together. And I thought this was a really interesting manifestation of that, and a very psychological item, because this is actually something that my grandfather brought back from China. I was just talking about it. My grandfather died a while ago. It's all good. He was really old, so it's not really a big deal. And I've talked about it a little bit on the show, just to set the mood a little bit. I did paint this way early on in the show. This is like where we were at, like right when we started the show way back in the day. And I really liked this episode. This is in season 1. And I kind of talked about my dad a little bit and how, you know, he had his father, my grandfather die, and his friend die. And like it was interesting seeing that play out for him because he doesn't really have like a spiritual nature, I guess you could say. And I do, and I'm kind of like a tertiary character and all that. And when I was home on vacation, I found this item. I see people talking about the Tibetan art streams in the chat. Yeah, they're on YouTube, but they're unlisted. I'll list them if you guys want. That just means they're up, but you can't like find them if you search. But I'll list them. Yeah, they're both pretty long though. I did them at the beginning of coronavirus stuff. Anyway, so my grandfather brought this item back from Shanghai, and I was back at my house last week. I was on Road Trip Edition, and I found this. And I asked my grandmother. I said, "What is this? What is this strange item?" And she said, "Your grandfather went to China." It's a whole crazy story. I'm not going to go into it right now. And he brought back this briefcase. And he got a bunch of stuff at the Shanghai Art Museum and a bunch of art stuff in China. He was really into Asian art. I actually didn't really know that about him. I mean, their house had like Asian art in it, so I guess I knew they liked Asian stuff. But I actually didn't really know that he had any art-making ambitions, which is very interesting. And she was like, yeah, and there's all this art stuff he bought. He wanted to kind of get into it, and he never really did. So I thought, wow. What a powerful, interesting little item. And I was going to open it and go through it, and then I had the crazy idea, you know, I could just open it and go through it on the stream, see what's in here, and then do some art with this stuff. And that's what we're going to do right now. So I know what's in here. I mean, I had to check to make sure there was like something in here, right? Obviously, I can't just totally wing it because, you know, you've invested your valuable time coming to watch this, so I do appreciate that. So I have poked in here. But I don't really know what's in here, honestly, so I thought it'd be cool to check it out. And then I think we're just going to go and make some art with what's in here right now. We've been doing the gouache painting setup for a while. It's really tight, obviously, because I'm the one doing it, so obviously it's tight. But let's mix it up a little bit, and if it goes really lame, then I'll break out the normal paints and we'll do the normal thing. But I thought, why not just try something a little bit different? So let's check this out in here. I guess we'll start with the main pocket first. I can't really tell what the main pocket is. I guess that would be this. Now I guess I don't want to lie to you guys. There is one item in here that I thought would really make this worthwhile. And that's this little item. I guess we're going to start out right here. Oh, dude. It's just so dope. It's just so dope. I mean, how often do you find a little item that's just this cool? Does that happen a lot to you? Or is this your life all the time? Not me. So I found this in here and I was like, oh yeah, we're definitely doing the painting show thing on this because this looks awesome. I mean, look at these. They're really cool, but I don't know if most people would know what this is. So I'm going to pick one up. You're going to have to stick with me a little bit on focusing the camera and stuff. I tried to make it the perfect level of focus, but we'll see. Oh, look at this pink. Look, it's unreal. It's literally unreal. Vaporwave. If it was Japanese letters, this would be like a full-on classical vaporwave item for sure. Anyway, so as you can see, there's these sticks. They have a gold dragon on one side. I have no idea what it says on the other side. No idea at all, actually. But I know what these are. And we've talked a little bit about sumi painting on the show. And sumi painting is like ink painting. If you missed it, it's not a big deal. This will all come together. I'll kind of like build the whole picture cohesively. But the whole essence of like Asian painting, Asian ink painting and stuff like that, East Asian, when I say Asian is really what I mean, really Chinese, Japanese, Korean also, is they have these sticks, and this is pigment. This is just straight up dried pigment. So in case you haven't watched any of the episodes about materials, paint is pigment, the colored stuff plus glue, and some kind of water, some kind of binder too. Well, the glue is the binder. But this is just the straight up pigment, and probably a binder in here also because it's not falling apart, as you can see. And what they do is they take a thing like this, and they grind it up in a little dish to make the paint. Actively. It's ink, it's not paint, but I'm going to use that term interchangeably a little bit, even though they're different. So they grind this up to make the ink. And by doing that, what you can do is like, so you grind it up a little bit in the water, and then the ink is going to be like a teeny bit of pigment in there. And then you have like light grays. So maybe you're painting like a stormy sky or something. Grind it up a little bit, lay down the light grays. Then you grind up some more. That's darker. Now you lay down like the dark clouds, grind it up more. Now it's darker. Maybe you paint in like a dark tree, and then you grind it up a little bit more, and then maybe you have it like totally black, and then you paint like some guy in the front. He's in the foreground, so he's totally black or something. So this is just straight up pigment for making like sumi inks, and I've never seen any of these colors. I'm actually I've seen red before actually, but I've never seen green. I've certainly never seen this before. And I'm actually really intrigued by this white one. I don't know what the deal with that is. It's not really white. It's almost like a milky jade color. So I'm stoked to see what the deal with that is. And if there's no dishes in here, I have one of the stones to grind up ink in, but I'm hoping there's some dishes in here. And if not, we're going to play it by ear. This is psychological improvisation. But I thought this was a pretty cool item. And there's no English on a lot of these things. So, I mean, I guess he really did get them from China. Not that my grandmother would lie to me. But, yeah. So let's see. Let's keep going in here, and then I'll poke in the chat and see what's going on. I don't know what this is. This is probably not from China. It's kind of interesting, actually. So I guess there is going to be some stuff in here not from China. So I guess, you know, maybe he did want to, like, paint and stuff like that, which is actually really interesting to me. I didn't know that side of him at all, which is unfortunate, but whatever. This is pretty cool in here, actually. So we haven't done anything with something like this on the show. So you've seen me use tubes of paint before. I'm not going to grab them. You know what a tube of paint looks like. But this is the other form that watercolor paint comes in. These are called cakes. So you would call these cakes. Like if you went to an art store and you were going to buy watercolor paint, if the person knew what they were doing, they might ask you like, oh, do you want cakes or do you want tubes? This is cakes. So actually kind of similar to the bricks we just looked at. This is the pigment in the binder, and then you dip you probably use something like this in like 3rd grade or something, right? You dip the brush in water, and then you're able to pick up the paint. I never use cakes ever. Sometimes you can get really high quality ones. I don't know how this, it says finest watercolor, so it must be really good. But maybe we'll use these. That's really interesting, actually. So we'll check this out. You can get really, really nice ones, so they're not inherently like bad or something, but that's interesting. All right, cool. We got this on deck. Oh, vintage with the metal. Oh, you hear the metal, the tactile sensation, little ASMR. Unpacking my dead grandfather's art supply briefcase and exploring his character on a show in front of people on the internet. ASMR. Ready? Oh, that's good. Did you get the ASMR chills from that? I didn't open this. Oh, it says Shanghai, so must be real. Should get someone who can read Chinese on the show. Actually, I think someone can read Chinese in the chat. We'll see. We'll see if they volunteer. All right, so let's see what's in here right now. It's a pretty dope box. So I'm going to undo this box. And let's see. I'm going to lay this down for a second. Cool. Hopefully I don't spill water everywhere, but it's not a big deal if I do. So let's see what's in here. Yes, epic. Oh, so dope. Word up. All right, so we got some dope tools in here. Oh, are you feeling the pink right now? Oh, want the ASMR? I'll fix that white balance, by the way, in a minute. But I thought it would be good for unpacking the briefcase. All right, cool. So we got a few things in here. This is like a more intense... oh, nice. I got a super chat. Word up. Womp womp. I will read your super chat in a second. That's dope. I'm always very humbled when I get a super chat. I feel like I receiving like the studio is receiving a donation or something. It's very magical experience. But I will read that in a second. Anyway, so this is like a more intense version of the black ink thing that we just looked at. I don't actually know what this is. This is pretty cool. It's got some kind of like foo dog, kind of rearing lion thing on the top. Maybe I'll click into autofocus for a second so we can check it out, actually. Let's see. Hold up. Will it autofocus? Someone told me if I put my hand behind it, it'll autofocus. Let's see, can we do it? Come on, autofocus. Come on, we came up here. The last time I ever use autofocus is right now. Okay, it's not gonna work. I'll show you guys later, it's fine. Anyway, I actually don't know what this is for, so we'll go back to normal focus. I actually don't know what this is for. I think this is one of those things where you carve like a seal or something in the bottom and then you stamp it in wax, which means theoretically I could take a knife probably and carve it in here. It depends on how soft this is. But we're not going to do that right now. I don't know what this is either. It's some kind of like spoon, possibly for opium. No, I'm just kidding. But I actually don't know what this is for art style. I guess we'll see. This might be a tiny dish for ink. This is obviously an ink stone. So we have one ink stone. I'm hoping there's some more in here, but if there's not, it's not a big deal. This is kind of a cool item. I've actually seen these in the shape of bats a lot. You can see it's almost in the shape of a bat. But this is, you put it here and then you lay your brushes in it so it holds your brushes while you're working. And I have no idea what's going to be in this little dish over here. It's got a dragon chasing a pearl on top. Whoa. Interesting. So some kind of like very wet red pigment in here. I guess it's kind of like paint. I mean, it's obviously some kind of paint or something. Interesting. All right, we'll check that out. Maybe we'll go black and red edition. That's pretty dope, though. I'll use this for something. It's kind of like a little clam dish. Okay, let's keep it moving. Then we got these brushes. I guess if we want to do full authentic, we might just use the brushes that are in here. These have a little black paint on them, but it's not a big deal. It's impossible for me to know how good these are until I crack them open. So I'm going to take those out right now, actually. And I'll leave this box out also. Let's see what else is going on in here. Let's see what else is going on in here. It's not like a crazy large briefcase, so we'll only be unpacking it for just a minute, but I mean, why not exploit the situation? I don't know what this is. It's obviously going to be some kind of paint or something. And I opened it upside down. How could that not happen? More watercolor cakes. Old school. Maybe we'll use these, maybe we won't. These are probably just bought from some normal art store or something though. I'm actually really intrigued that there are these watercolor paints in here because that means he must have bought them with the intention of painting himself, and that's very intriguing. This is a really funny artist joke if you're an artist, but this is Chinese white. It actually really is Chinese white watercolor, which is funny because this bag's from China, or at least, you know. Oh, it actually says where it's from. Genuine leather made in Italy for Chi St. Thomas. My grandfather's name was not Chi, so I will have to ask about that, I guess. But Chinese white and watercolor, you actually kind of need this. It's really dry because it's like probably like 50 years old or more. Oh, actually, it can't be that old. I don't know how old this stuff is. Doesn't matter. Anyway, Chinese white is opaque. So watercolor is transparent. You guys have seen the show. Watercolor is transparent. You lay it down, it's transparent. But Chinese white is opaque. So you can actually use it to put in highlights and stuff like that. Like if you were painting a glass dish and then you wanted those specular, that means like little point highlights on there, you would take Chinese white and drop it in. It's kind of cool this is here, but we probably won't use it because it's really dry. You can actually hear the rattle. Ready? That's the ASMR. Okay. Let's see what's in here. Semi-moist watercolors. That's a very pleasing name. Semi-moist. American Artist Color Works, Hazleton, PA. So this kid, I guess, well, I don't know. 89 cents. 68 cents. 68 cents. It must be kind of old if it was 68 cents. I mean, look at this typeface and stuff. Maybe this is from like back in the day, actually. It's pretty cool. More watercolor cakes, little brushes. Whoa, it says red sable on this brush. That would mean that it's pretty expensive, actually, so maybe that's a lie. Oh, yo, it says Winsor & Newton? What? This is crazy! Yo, check this out. I'm going to get this out, actually. That's sick. I want to show you guys. What's the other brush say? Yo, that's actually really cool. So Winsor & Newton is like one of the most well-known and long-standing like art-making companies. And it says Winsor & Newton Incorporated, New Jersey. Series 133 Red Sable. This is actually pretty dope because I have Winsor & Newton brushes, but they're all branded like all differently because they're so new. So I guess back in the day, this is just what their brushes looked like. Red Sable is like, sable's like one of the best animals to make brushes from. That's why it's like this. That's pretty cool. This is a pretty cool little weird item. I'm going to put that with my normal brushes, actually. All right, I'm going to check out the super chat really quick because I feel like I don't want to disrespect it by letting it go up too high. Womp Womp says, since I started watching the show, I began to use the phrase color situation in everyday life. Yeah, you should. You should. Everyone should talk about the color situation. What does this mean? Is the hypersigil working? Yes, I'm infecting everyone's brain with the aesthetic mindset, painter mindset. You're going to be sitting somewhere. One of you guys is going to be sitting somewhere, maybe on a date or something. Let's be optimistic for all of us. And you're going to be like, wow, isn't that table a really nice color? The girl's going to be like, it's gray. But it's not gray. It's like orange, purple, blue. That's when you know you watch the show too much. I'm got Chinese translation going on. The ink in the beginning says, can't read that, which means 5 vibrant inks. That's what it is, I guess. Nice. Isidore in the chat coming through. It's probably a reference to Pentachromis from Chinese mythology. There's 5 primary colors in Chinese thought. Red, yellow, blue, black, and white. Each of which correspond to one of the 5 elements. That's dope, actually. I was reading about the 5 elements a little while ago. Some more brushes. That's cool. Let's keep it moving. I want to start painting. Oh, it's the Chinese way. I think we finished with this pocket, except for these books. This is pretty cool. Easy Ways to Do Chinese Painting, published by Walter T. Foster. This is like 50s aesthetic. I just got paranoid that my grandfather's name would be on here, but it's not. It says Joanne Brady, 1982. Okay. Let's see if there's like a publication date in here. If there's not, it just starts right with the book. That's sick. Cool. Okay, well, we're not going to look at this right now, but that's kind of cool. It's like how to do Chinese painting. Cool. We don't need that. The Art of Sumi Painting. Fish. Maybe we'll get into some stuff like that. Does it have his name on it? No, it doesn't. Cool. Same vibe. Old school books about painting. Cool. We're not going to look at this right now, though. I think we got 2 more pockets to go through. What is this? This is a fat book. Complete Sumi Techniques. That's what I'm talking about here. Complete Sumi Techniques. When is this book from? Let's see. 1966. It's pretty cool, actually. Same deal. We're not going to look at this right now, but that's pretty dope. Little bird. That's kind of going to be the vibe we're going for, I guess. Maybe not, though. Oh, these birds are tight. Damn, that's actually pretty chill. We'll talk a little bit about Asian painting in a minute, but not right now. Let's keep it moving. Second pocket. Oh, yo, this is epic. There's actually this paper in here. It's kind of like rice paper. That's pretty tight. Wow, unexpected. I guess we might use this. I can't tell if it's going to work or not. Damn, that's sick. All right, we'll definitely go through the rice paper. We're going to use that for sure. See what else is in here. Probably more brushes. It's kind of trippy that my grandfather had all this stuff and I didn't know about it. More brushes. Cool. Nice. Got some dope red ink over here. We're going to use that too. If all else fails, we can fall back on the red and black situation. I do have some Sumi ink down below. It's Japanese though, don't tell anybody. Okay, nice. The red powdery ink is used for seal printing. You write or draw your piece in black soot ink, and then the stamp is done in the red ink. That's really sick, actually. The book says, can't read Chinese, obviously, and then I couldn't read after that. It was too small or dark to read. If you see the Easy Chinese Painting book, the red square on the front cover, an example of something done with the red seal ink I was talking about. Yeah, it's interesting. I've seen that in fine art, but I've never seen it in, like I'm holding it. Got some more watercolor paints. This is obviously not from China. Whoa, this is weird. I've never seen tubes like this before. I feel like I should be putting this in my printer, right? Is this unopened? Nah, it's opened. So it means he used it, I guess. Cool. Well, maybe we'll get into that. Maybe we won't. Maybe we will, though. Maybe we won't. Let's see. Put that on the floor. What else we got going on over here? Huh. A weird little... Yo, there's a key in here. Maybe it unlocks some family secret. No, it probably unlocks the briefcase. Okay. What else we got going on? I'm getting... Shanghai Museum. We're not going to look at that right now. I'm sure it's a great museum, but we're not going to look at that right now. Let's keep it moving. I want to start painting. What do we got in here? Okay, let's see. What do we got in here? Okay. Just want to make sure nothing has his name on it. But actually it doesn't. There's another random person's name on this. Kind of intrigued as to how all these different random people's names ended up in my grandfather's briefcase, but we'll see how that goes. This is some weird brochure, some weird thing over here. Okay, let's keep it moving. More random stuff. Alright, nothing else. Oh, yo, this is crazy. Wow, this is nuts, actually, because I guess these are some of his drawings. I guess he actually did do some drawings in here. Interesting. Wow, that's actually really interesting. I never, you obviously don't know me, right? But I never would have guessed that my grandfather would have done any art at all in his life. It's actually really surprising. Whoa, that's crazy. Yo, that's sick. Wow, interesting. I painted a crab and a bird. That's crazy. Oh, and this is a little scene with a bird and some flowers. Wow, that's really sick. Damn. Maybe I'll copy one of these or something. I'm going to put it on my computer over here. These are dope. Wow, that's actually tripping me out. And that's it. Just a few drawings. Interesting. Well, we'll definitely keep those. Wow, that's a fucking trip. Nice. Keep the paper around here too. Wow, that was a find. Did not see that coming. Is there anything else in here? We've got this one last secret pocket. Okay. Oh, hello jackpot department. Boom. Yo, look at this brush. Yes. That's sick. Oh man, nice. All right, we're definitely gonna use these. I think we have enough brushes to only use brushes from the briefcase. We're going 100% Shanghai Briefcase Edition. Oh, and the last ones. Look, this is perfect. Little Sumi. I mean, I'm going to use them as to grind up the ink and stuff. I don't know if the ink will grind up in here. And they're little teapots, which is somewhat bizarre, but I'm actually down. Look, there's some red in here, so I guess he ground up some paint in here. That's really sick. That was really cool. I was wondering, I was like, should I look through this before I do it on the show? Will it be cool? That's actually really sick. And there's no more secret pockets or anything going on. No, I guess we're good. Wow, really tight. Really interesting. Okay, cool. Well, now that we've unpacked some very strange family esoterica, I'm going to bring the camera down so I can finally Wait, so I'm going to zoom in and, like, you know, bring the camera down. I only have one camera, so when I make it big, I'll have two cameras, but now I only have one. So I can finally stop worrying about showing my face. I was worried I was going to, like, lean in and accidentally show my face on the stream. We're going to put it at 20. We're going to say apply. We're going to chill with the low light compensation. Hold up 1 second while I just set this up really quick. White balance? I feel like the white balance is... Oh, because it's on auto. Fuck that. Yeah, so I don't want to, like, ham it up too hard, but it's pretty sick. Like I said, I never would have guessed. My grandpa is kind of an interesting guy because he had, like, a successful business, but it's kind of interesting. I feel like that generation, I don't know what you want to call them, but that whole generation, I feel like they're almost characterized by, like... I was talking with my wife about this yesterday, like, having different personalities in different situations. I don't mean in, like, a fake way, but, like, you know, I feel like I said, when people meet me, if you met me in real life, I feel like you have a pretty good idea of, like, who I am with my wife, you know, let's say. But I feel like with that generation, I feel like it wasn't really like that, you know? I feel like if you met them somewhere, they have, like, a business personality and, like, a family personality, and then maybe they have a different personality when they're, like, alone with their wife. And like I said, I never would have guessed you would have had art stuff, so that's pretty crazy, actually. But we will explore such things. So let's just see what the deal is with those bars of ink. I guess that's really the first place to start. So I got this, I got this, I got this. And I really like the idea of, like, exploring materials on the show live, because I was talking with someone today in my DMs and stuff, and sorry, I'm moving the camera one last time. And maybe I'll bring it down a little bit. Oh, there we go. That's perfect. And, you know, I was saying, like, if you watch someone who has, like, total mastery over something, I don't have total mastery over anything, but, you know, if you watch someone that has total mastery over something, it's just, like, fictitious what they're doing. It's like they're so good at it and they know the ins and outs of everything. It's like watching someone play, like, an instrument and just doing it perfectly. You don't really get the feeling like, oh, well, I could pick up the hammer dulcimer and I could play that probably. But if you go get some art materials yourself, which I highly encourage you to do, you know, you're going to have to, like, feel them out, right? So let's just do that right now. Let's see how it goes. I actually am going to put down something on this wood right here, and I happen to just have the perfect thing. So hold up 1 second. Basically, I'm just going to use this white board right here. I'm doing this because the ink situation we're going to use, it's obviously going to bleed through the paper, probably to a ridiculous extent. So I don't want to stain the wood if I don't have to. Ooh, and it looks nice with the white. It looks nice with the wood too, but it looks nice with the white. And let's just start with the black. I'm going to grab some paper right behind me. Boom. Let's see, have I missed anything in the chat? People are talking about Isidore's talking. Starting to think Cyclops isn't your family name. I know. It is, though. Actually, my last name really is Cyclops. Are you familiar with how to fold paper for painting and calligraphy, the proper way to grind ink sticks? Not really. I've hung out with a lot of Asian artists, but not really. I'm kind of going to be winging it. There's a book I studied, unfortunately not in English, which connects the 5 elements to the 5 elements of calligraphy. Yeah, that's tight. If you're going to do a landscape, put the grindstone left to right and the slope pointing to the right side. Whoa, dude, I should get you on the show, man. Yeah, I'm just kind of going to be winging it, honestly. But I will consider such things. Okay, so let's see. I got the lights set up. Cool. And I just want to kind of take a page, and we'll just see how this stuff handles. I have no idea how this is going to handle. And I guess we'll start with the pigments in here. So we're going to start with the black one. Boom. Love the dragon. Love it. And I'm going to grab some water. If I'm doing ink stuff, I normally just have like a giant jug of water around so I can like easily dispense water and stuff like that. Cool. So I got a little bit in there. No, it's because you have the grindstone on the left, so unless you're left-handed, you might drip ink everywhere on the painting. True. True, actually. I have it on the left. Yeah. Okay, we're just going to see how it goes. And I'm going to use one of these cool brushes. Which brush am I going to use? I actually don't know what brush I'm going to use. Let's use... I'm just going to grab one. I'm really wondering how these giant ones are going to handle. I have my own smaller ones, but I usually don't mess with brushes like this. These are like very Asian style. Actually, to give you guys a cool little like into what I'm thinking right now, you can actually see the difference because here I have a massive brush that's Western style, and here we have one that's Chinese style. And normally what I see in terms of like Asian brushes in Tibet, China, I haven't been there, but I mean here when I'm hanging out with artists that I used to hang out with artists that were like really into that stuff. You can see the actual setup is different. So for Western brushes, normally when they make them, what they do is they take the hairs and then they wrap around. So you have the stick and you can see the string. It's wrapped around the outside. But for East Asian style brushes, usually what I see is that they're stuck in this tube. They're inside. It's kind of just a little bit of a different setup. I'm going to just wet this. And I have no idea how it's going to like hold the point or anything like that. I don't really know anything, honestly. So what I'm going to do is let's just see what goes on with this bad boy right now. You can probably hear it. And I thought this would also... Yo, this actually might not be black. It might be dark blue. Oh, shit. And I thought it would also be cool to do this because I feel like part of what's cool about art is like the hyper, like physical nature of it. And interacting with like materials in like a really deep way is like really satisfying, honestly. It's one of the nice things about painting, honestly. Even after a long day of like doing like digital art and stuff, like I'll open up the paints and just like interact with like the pigment and colors, and it feels really good. So let's see how this goes. Cool. I've only used one of these before. I've only used the black one. And I can't really tell how much pigment came out. And it is dark blue. It's not black. Guess we'll just see. Not really much happening. Kind of just got this dirty, like dark blue color. Let's see. I'm gonna go a little bit more. I can't tell if this noise would be delightful or horrible on the mic. Just enjoy the ASMR. Yeah. Let's see. The dark blue is making me think about the ocean and like being out on the ocean. I guess that's very suited for like watery paintings and stuff like that. I'm getting scolded in the chat for how I'm grinding the stone, but it's all good. I'm just gonna roll with it for now. But I will take some advice as I go on. Okay, let's see. And if grinding stones ends up not being the thing, then I'll just bust out the ink. It's not really a big deal. Okay, I'm down with that. Let's turn this over and you're supposed to interface the flat surface of the ink stick with the ink grindstone itself. Do not put the edge of the stick on the stone. You won't get ink and you'll ruin the stone. Okay. I have internet ink calligraphy master. I used to go hard on calligraphy, but the thing is I've only done Western calligraphy. I've never done Asian style calligraphy. So let's see what we can do with this. I'm just going to lay down some color here. I want like fat areas of color though. I don't want this like weird little shit. Nice, there we go. Now we're talking. Let's just see how this goes. I'm just gonna kind of like wing something up here. I have no idea how the paper is gonna take the ink or anything. But let's see if we can get a little building up areas of color. Let's see. All right, let's see what the deal with that is. And normally when I've gotten brushes like this back in the day, they're made from like goat's hair or something like that. In Tibet, they do make brushes out of like cat's hair, which is pretty cool. Okay, let's see. Okay, cool. I have a feeling we'll end up going with the black ink, but let's just see how this rolls out. We'll do one. We got to do one with the grinding the inkstone. We came all this way. I'm being told to use the full length of the grindstone. It's actually a good tip. Let's see. I want to get some like fat blue in here. All right, let's see. Cool. Kind of down with that. Let's just I'm gonna grab some water over here. Let's see. See if I can paint it some like ocean scene or something. And like I said, if it turns out whack, it turns out whack, and we'll just keep moving on. I feel like it's kind of streaky. I feel like maybe I should use the other paper. I don't know. Let's see. Let's see how dark it'll go. So yeah, I guess I'll talk a little bit about it, and then I'll bust out the black ink because I want to get like visually enticing mode, but let's see. So the cool thing for me about doing this is that it's kind of like very antithetical to Western painting in a way. After being so into Asian art and then kind of being where I'm at now, like I feel like one thing is that you can never really like step completely like outside of your mindset, you know, so I'm always going to be like a Western painter, Western calligraphy at heart person. So when I delve into like other materials or other situations, it's kind of, ooh, it looks nice out here actually. It's always just kind of to see like what it reflects back on my own system as, and like what it like brings back to my own like worldview and everything. And what I really like about the East Asian painting situation, China, Japan, ink painting at least, not like physical painting. Let's see how this goes now. Nice. Cool. Let's see, I'm just going to throw it down up here. Nice. Is that I feel like the huge brushes and everything confer a slight element of spontaneity that's not really present in like Western painting. If you look at like medieval Western art or oil painting and all that stuff, like the last thing you're ever going to describe it as is like spontaneous. In fact, it's almost characterized by like lots of planning and like meticulous attention to detail and stuff like that. And like, of course, that's present in like East Asian painting and stuff, but for their calligraphy especially, the difference is like really, really, really strong for me. It's almost like what you're cherishing about like the mark making is like the spontaneity of it. Nice. Let's see. Not really getting the result I want here, but it is kind of cool actually. Painting some like hills in the background, maybe get some like branch or something up here. Coming down, nice. Last time I did this, I had kind of like some land in the front like this. This is like the feeling it out mode. This is like the training of the video game session. Let's see, I'm gonna grab some more water. Actually, I'm not gonna grab more water. I have a feeling we won't roll too far with the stone, but I thought I had to try it. All right, I'm enjoying the tips that I'm getting. A general rule of thumb is to keep your forearm angle with the ground constant and hinge your shoulder, not your elbow. Hinge my shoulder, not my elbow. Oh wait, I'm moving my elbow. I have to move my shoulder? Oh, okay. Well, let's see. In a second, I'll switch over to the black ink, which I'm much more comfortable with. Dang, I can't really get the effect that I want here. Maybe it's because of the paper? I don't know. Let's see, I'm not going to get the high contrast that I want. I can't believe I can't pick up art materials that I know basically nothing about and immediately get the drastic effects that I want from them. Can you believe that? Okay, cool. Okay, I'm not going to go much further with this, but that was pretty cool. Okay, I'm going to bust out some black ink. Maybe we'll come back to the sticks. Okay, so what I want to do right now, since we all sat through that, that's actually pretty cool, honestly. I didn't really get the effect that I wanted. Boom. Is I want to do some black ink stuff, and I guess I'm going to try a smaller brush. I'm going to cheat right now and break out, boom, one of my favorite artistic tools right here. Yes. Sumi Ink Black. Whoa, really? Yo, Isidore said something dope. I have a calligraphy show in December. I'm a semi-professional calligrapher. Yo, really? That's sick, dude. Yo, maybe I should get you like on the show to like talk about this another time. That's sick, dude. Nice. Okay, so I want to kind of like just break away from the stone thing for a second. And I like using this ink a lot. I've used it on the show before. But this is basically, for me, actually in the whole studio out of everything I have, this is like the darkest. Oh wait, was there any black ink in here? No, there wasn't. So let's use the black and red for a minute. We'll kind of like warm up with this for a minute. Nice. And I kind of just wanted to do some like more like spontaneous painting stuff with the ink. I really like using the ink a lot. Like I said, I was just saying right now, it's like the darkest thing I have in the whole studio. So out of all the paint, out of everything, the black ink is really like where it's at for me. So I'm going to have this one brush that I'm going to use with the ink. And I guess I'm going to have another brush that I use for the water. Because I want to be able to lay down areas of water and stuff like that. Let's just kind of see how it goes. I'll use this brush actually. Cool. So what I want to do right now is I want to lay down, I just want to see how it goes doing like some spontaneous stuff. So yeah, when I was back home, it was interesting because I was going through like all my archives and stuff like that. And it was really interesting like seeing kind of like where I like came from artistically and like where I'm at now and all that stuff. It was pretty dope. I really like using the brush also because a lot of illustrators will like use brushes for stuff. Because I feel like it kind of forces you to accept like a little bit of like a less perfect like line. You know, like if I have a pen, which I do have over here, actually maybe I'll bust that out. You kind of have like the sniper rifle, like everything's perfect and stuff kind of mode going on. With a brush, you're kind of forced to accept like a little bit of, you know, you're never exactly sure what's going to happen totally. Kind of want to make something that looks dope right now, and then we'll kind of go back to the grindy stones thing. Boom. Boom. Nice. Cool. And I liked the idea of breaking out the hardcore black materials because so far everything we've been doing on the show, it hasn't been very like high contrast. And I kind of just wanted to get some high contrast like energy going. I don't know why my default thing to paint is like a girl in like profile like this. It's not really in profile. I'm not really sure why. Like if you just gave me some art materials, that would be like the main thing I would like go to. Boom. Let's move this up a little bit. Cool. And I'm just kind of going to lean into like the edge of the paper here, and I'm going to put in a mark over here. Maybe I'll paint something about my grandfather to like drive home the whole theme of the show. Cool. And I'm going to throw down like a black halo. For some reason, I've really been thinking about that a lot. Yes. We got to move the camera out a little bit. Cool. Perfect. And let's see, I'm kind of just going to paint up like the black. I've just been wanting to use the black and like lay down like fat areas of blackness. It just feels so good. Oh. Then maybe I will have it release up. Black is kind of like the ultimate color. I spent a long time, like maybe like a year or so, using only black and white in my paintings, and I feel like it made me a lot better as an artist because you're kind of forced to like just work with like the dark and light areas. It's kind of like the fundamental like essence of like art is like the composition and the light and dark and stuff. Damn, I hit the brush with water and it didn't even dilute the black ink. Damn. It still didn't. Damn, that's nuts actually. Cool. Boom. There we go. Nice. Nice. Cool. So throw this down over here. And I wanted to release up into gray, but the ink is so heavily pigmented that it's actually not even it's not even like decreasing in opacity at all. It's still like just as black as we get up there. Nice. And I love the gray you get from the ink. It's so tight. It's like this nice, like warm, kind of like cloudy gray. So good. So good. Perfect. And actually what I'm going to do, I kind of want to make something kind of fresh right now since we just were fucking around with that blue stone for a second. Yeah, I like using the black halo. I feel like it is kind of interesting symbolically because it like is a halo, but then it's also dark. Someone said in the chat, yeah, you do see it on like demons and like dark figures. I feel like sometimes when I do the black halo, it's more like it's like darkness like surrounding the person. You know, it's not necessarily like a symbol of like divinity or something. It's like we're all in this like realm where like darkness like surrounds us. That's kind of how I think of it sometimes. Cool. Cool. Let's come in here. And this brush that I'm using right now, this is more like a Renaissance, like Western, Northern European style situation. It's actually an imitation squirrel brush, so it's meant to imitate a squirrel brush. It's like faux squirrel, actually, if you can believe that. Okay, boom. Nice. I like getting these kind of lines with the brush, so I'm going to be going for that a little bit. Let's see, I'm just going to lay down fat areas of black. Nice. Nice. Oh, feels so good laying down fat areas of pigment. Perfect. Cool. Perfect. That looks really sick, actually. Come back in here a little bit. And then, how do I want to do her face? Do I want to do it like a real face? Do I not want to? Boom. Nice. Perfect. Dope. 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 Cool. And then sometimes when I paint people's faces, I like to kind of put like something in the face. I could make it like a normal face. Maybe I will. I'll put down the eyes. Nice. Perfect. I will throw down the nose. But I want to put something other than a mouth down as the mouth. I'm going to put a fish. Nice. Cool. And I guess, alright, cool. I just kind of honestly wanted to make something dope just to get that like out of my system. But maybe we'll make some other images right now. Maybe we'll do some like ocean things. So I was talking about my grandfather, and I kind of want to keep that theme going since we bothered unpacking the whole briefcase. So let's do that right now. I actually really like this picture he drew of a crab. So we're going to roll with that as kind of like a starting off point. And while I was out on the ocean, I couldn't obviously help but think of symbolism of ocean creatures. So maybe that's where we'll start right now. I'm kind of going to paint a big crab. Let's see how he painted this crab over here. Thanks for sticking with the impromptu episode. It's kind of just the ball, honestly. We're gonna try and step it up a little bit from that. And I called the show Lamarckian Mindset because I was thinking about, I don't know if you guys know, but when Darwin was like putting forth his theories, so let's see if I can totally like break out of my style and do something like a little bit different. I could like draw it in like I would normally draw a crab, but let's see how different I can get it going. Nice. And I'm not going for like an Asian style when I do stuff like this. I'm kind of just, you know, seeing what happens. Like I said, like I'm not like an Asian person, so I don't like trying to like LARP like I'm gonna be, you know, doing some like, you know, calligraphy master shit. Kind of just like to see like what it has to do with like my own style and way of painting. But boom, cool. And I really love like bottom of the ocean creature symbolism and stuff like that. Actually, I kind of want that to be like a little bit fatter. Nice. So I feel like there's something like creatures in the ocean, like living down at like the bottom of the ocean, and like relating to like the psyche and things that we like don't normally analyze. I actually did see a fiddler crab, so I guess that's what I'm painting right now. Nice. Fuck yeah. Cool. Nice. And then we'll put some kind of like water line in here. If we end up not wanting to roll with the ink thing the whole show, I can change it, but I kind of just wanted to do something a little bit different. I also like doing this kind of thing because it's like big, bold. It's a little bit more like of the mind. It makes you kind of like think about things in a certain way. I'm painting this boat up here. My whole family has like a really interesting relationship to like water and the ocean and stuff like that. So maybe that's part of why I like it so much. Perfect. Got to put in like the little loop on them boats. Boom. And let's see if I can get the bird flying up here. Nice. Cool. I actually do kind of like that a little bit. Cool. Let's do one more ink thing, and then I'll see what direction we want to take the rest of the show in. Just gonna take this off right here. Boom. I'm kind of conflicted if I should keep pushing the ink situation or if I should change it up. I mean, we came so far with the briefcase and everything. I don't really know. I guess I'll just kind of talk about what I'm thinking. I don't really know what image to make. It's kind of an interesting, actually, this is a very interesting topic for the painting show. This is perfect. I don't really know what image to make that would relate to the informational content that I'm thinking of. Because in my brain, I have all these like thoughts swirling around, like my grandfather, this is his stuff, like he went to China, but I don't know what image I should really make to like get that out. I guess that's kind of what we're going to explore on the show right now. Actually, you know, I will tell this story actually because no one was probably there, and actually I'll paint it out, and then if this ends up being like not interesting, we'll change it. I'm talking like it's a TV channel, like we can just change it. But my grandfather had this sculpture in his house. It was kind of interesting, actually. That's what I'm going to paint right now. And it was this guy. Let's see if I can get like a kind of like an old man, kind of like crazy style. Just kind of going to go for it. Like I said, it's kind of like the spontaneity of like the big, bold strokes and stuff. And if it ends up being whack, it's all good with me. It's more like the process that's interesting. Okay, so how do I show an old man like in this style? I guess it's really like the beard. So I'm gonna come in with the beard. Yeah, perfect. So my grandfather had this sculpture in his house. I'm gonna give this guy like a long, like kind of crazy beard. Yeah, that's sick. And it was this guy, I guess it was like a German sculpture or something. And we'll give kind of like the old man, like wide eyes. Perfect. And it was this guy, and I guess the guy had just like returned from fishing. Give him an arm right here. Give him like a long robe too. Perfect. And he was holding all these fish, and he had like a bag of money. I guess it was just some kind of like auspicious sculpture of a person in there. And when I went down for his funeral, it was interesting because they were like, oh, you should say something, at the funeral. So I'm like, all right, yeah, sure. But like, what am I going to say? I didn't really know what to say. So I kind of used this like sculpture in his house as kind of like a metaphor in a way for like what he was, because he was such like a great guy that, and he was like really successful and everything like that, that I feel like he almost like became like the mental version of one of those sculptures where like you have a sculpture like that around where it has like, just general pleasant things. Oh, cool. Just general like pleasant things around, because it kind of like is meant to confer those things on you or like open up like the possibility of those things to you. It's a pretty universal thing in like different cultures. Like, you have a sculpture of like a successful old person or something. They have that in East Asian cultures. They have it in European cultures, anything like that. And I gave this whole speech at his funeral, and that's kind of what I was talking about how like he kind of like, now that he wasn't like around anymore, kind of like became the mental version of one of those sculptures. That now he was just this like mental image of like a successful person that would hopefully open up that possibility for other people and stuff. Not really sure if that makes any sense, but I thought it was kind of cool. So I'm going to paint in this guy with this fish right here. Boom. Nice. I feel like maybe I should give this guy like a dark beard. I feel like maybe I should make his beard black. I can't really tell. We'll see. Come up. Boom. And then on the other hand, I'm going to give him like a basket or something. It's going to come down and around. Give him the same kind of like wide open robe situation. With the thumb. Boom. Boom. Cool. And I'm just going to make him holding a big bag of money. Some kind of like big bag. Oh, I fucking smudged it. Cool. I kind of like that though. So I think what we'll do is, I'll do this picture. I'm kind of going to have him in like a robe or something like that. And then maybe I'll do a bigger ink one, and then maybe we'll move on from the ink one. There's a little break from the biblical painting situation. Then we'll kind of go back into Bible painting world. But for now, I thought a change up would be tight. Give his robe kind of like coming back over here a little bit. Nice. I'm also going to paint like a fat fish down here. Cool. Nice. Perfect. That's kind of dope, actually. Nice. There's obviously a reason like people ink paint fish so much. They're like long kind of like slithery movements really fit the ink painting thing. Now I never know how much I can get away with in terms of like details when I do this kind of like ink painting. Like on the one hand, it should be like these really big, like bold strokes, but on the other hand, like, I'm not really sure. Like, can I get away with putting in like, kind of like treasure chest situation back here? If I get in with the fat right here, nice. Cool. And we'll kind of use this as a warm up. Then I'll break out like the huge paper and I'll do some kind of like really, really big ink drawing, and then we'll see where we want to take it. And I kind of feel like I should just make this black. Almost like it's in shadow or something. Yeah, that looks dope actually. Nice. I'm going to give him a fishing rod. Boom, boom, boom. Perfect. I guess it's interesting too. I'm trying to think of other things. I mean, I'm thinking of a lot of things right now, but I'm also like focusing on painting. But it's interesting too because someone sent me a really cool email. I'm gonna have this like kind of coming down, and like around. And one of the, since we're taking a break from talking about like, you know, specific parts of the Bible and stuff, one of the interesting things for me, like theologically, that like I feel like different theological systems can kind of be like broken up as, is like how they see death and like if death is like unnatural or not. I'm gonna give this guy a black beard. Why not? Whoa, crazy thunder. Whether death is like an unnatural thing or whether it's like meant to be there or not. And someone sent me this email all about how like in Zoroastrianism, like death is this unnatural thing and therefore anything like associated with death is bad, I guess you could say. And how there's some Christian theologies where it's like, yeah, like death is not meant to exist. It's kind of like this glitch that's part of like the fallen world. But then you get other systems where that's not the case, and I find it really interesting. I don't know. I can't really decide like what I think about that. Okay, this is looking pretty chill. I think, well, I'm not just going to keep moving on. I'm going to give this guy a halo too. Perfect. All right, cool. Boom. Cool. That was a good warm up. Let's do one more big ink drawing. And to be honest with you, what I've been checking out information-wise this week is I'm gonna grab the huge piece of paper. I actually was. Let's see, where do I have it? We'll use this right here. Boom. Well, there's a crazy thunderstorm here. I was checking out this guy. I've been meaning to do like a comic about it actually. And he has this book he wrote in the 70s. And it's all about how humans evolved by eating. This is going to seem like a big jump, but it kind of relates. It's all about how humans evolved by eating the brains of other hominids. The book has a really cool title. It's called The Beginning Was the End. And it's all about how like the reason man is like an outlier in terms of like nature and evolution and all this stuff is because basically the mechanism by which man evolved was that these monkeys started eating the brains of other monkeys. And he developed this theory because he went to Southeast Asia where he ended up eating these fresh ape brains. He ended up eating these ape brains and it made his brain like feel really weird and he got really like sexually invigorated from it. And based on that experience, he developed this whole theory, like I just said, that over the course of like thousands of years of like these monkeys like eating, these apes eating the brains of other apes, that's what made us develop in this way that we're now in a situation where like we're different from like all other animals and kind of removed from like the natural system. And he says like, you know, your brain's like not supposed to be as big as it is. Like you have this brain in your skull, but if you look at the skulls of like other animals, like those brains are like sitting in fluid and they're kind of like put in this way that's very different from your brain. And what he basically posits is that man was able to like jump the natural evolutionary system because these apes were eating the brains of other apes for like thousands and thousands of years. So their brains got really big and now your brain is in your skull in this way. And it has this like pressure because your brain's too big for your skull. So there's this pressure that you feel. And he ropes it into like ancient cultures, like elongating their skulls and stuff like that. And why we have no hair, he's like, you know, evolutionarily it makes no sense that we have no hair. It's because of like hair loss caused by like thousands of years of like brain eating. And it's really awesome. It's really cool. Don't jump my my gun there because I'm gonna make a comic about it. But so no one else make a comic about it. But it's called The Beginning Was the End. And I'm really surprised that more people don't know about it considering how like weird Twitter is. So I think it's gonna kind of like, I think people would be really into it. But anyway, the point is that I thought it was a really interesting, like, mythical explanation. He thought it was real, obviously. But just, and I feel like it also dovetails with, like, weird theology because, like, man is kind of, like, set apart from nature. And it kind of feels like, whether it's because of some, like, evolutionary glitch or, like, you know, because we're made separately in this theological way, that we're, like, set apart from, like, the rest of the world. And, I don't know, somehow I feel like that relates to, like, death and what I was just talking about because in some religious systems, they're like, yeah, death isn't supposed to exist. Like, that's why it's fucking weird. You're not supposed to have, like, this system where creatures are dying and stuff like that. And I don't know. I just thought it was interesting because I don't know. I can't really tie it all together. But it's just kind of interesting to me. And then I was thinking about, like I just said, like my grandfather dying and like people being weird and people always being kind of caught up in these weird situations, and like man kind of is like an outlier, you know. So I guess people come up with like different ways to explain that. But the monkey brain eating thing is sick. I think my dad ate monkey brain once. That's dope. Okay, let's focus in. So we kind of been like rambling, painting random stuff. Let's make something dope. I kind of want to just go hard on... So I talk about how I'm filling out how to do the show while I'm doing it all the time. That's what's happening right now. So I thought that going like big, bold, making a lot of like small images, big, bold, over and over, would be tight. But actually what I'm thinking is it happens so quickly that it's not really like conducive for like the video format and you guys are watching me and stuff. And then I'm kind of focused and I'm not really like talking. So I'm kind of going to go a little bit in the other direction right now, and let's see if we can make something like epic and kind of like more large scale, let's say. I kind of want to use a smaller brush than this. You can see I got this brush right here because I'm kind of thinking that getting some detail work and stuff like that going will be the answer that we're looking for right now. So I'm going to grab my brushes right here. And let's see if we got what I'm looking for in here. I want something this is exactly what we need right here. Boom. Perfect. Perfect. Cool. I feel like every now and then we should do like an unplanned show like this, but if you're not enjoying it, don't worry. We're going to return to, you know, planned situation next week. But for now, I thought it'd be cool. Thought we should change it up a little bit. We don't want things to get stale. But then we're floating in the sea of chaos like we are now. But it's all good. I'm actually enjoying myself. Okay, so I'm going to kind of just build out from the center. I like doing that when I do images because naturally when you're making an image in terms of like the hierarchy and stuff, what's in the center kind of reads as like the beginning or what's the most important. And since we're talking about death, whether it's the unnatural system of death placed upon us by a fallen world, or family death, or death from great apes going out to neighboring tribes of great apes and eating their brains. We're going to start with a skull in the middle. There's paint on my hand, but it's okay. Yeah, the book actually is really metal because he literally talks about like brain-fueled rape frenzies where these like primates would go and like find another group of primates and like kill all the men and like take all the women. They would just be like eating these brains and get this like aphrodisiac effect from them. So it actually is pretty metal, to be honest with you. I was like, how did someone not make like a heavy metal album based on this? And there's a lot of guys around the time, like when Evolution came out, who were like kind of on board, but not really. And they have some really cool stuff. There's another guy, it's this Polish guy actually. Perfect. We're going to start with a really small skull and we're going to like build out from there. There's this other guy, this Polish guy, who has this whole theory about like all of human culture coming from like a post-deluge, i.e. like post-Great Flood group from like Easter Island. It's kind of like an Atlantis thing. In case people don't know, it's kind of nice we can talk about like whatever we want for like one episode. In case people don't know, like part of the reason why Atlantis stuff fits in with all those like weird theories about life and the origins of life, and you see it in New Age stuff, but you also see it in some like guys who are like trying to make their scientific theories work, is because people were finding all these different like sync-ups and similarities between coastal civilizations all over the world, and they explained it via the mechanism of Atlantis. So it hasn't always been like a woo-woo-y like, you know, crazy person thing. It used to be like kind of like a scientific thing, but then when theory of plate tectonics and things like that really started coming out, people were like, yeah, I guess there's not like an ancient civilization at the floor of the ocean, so they kind of dropped it. Okay, I'm going to put this in a triangle over here because it gives us a little like graphic room. It kind of like breaks up the space in a cool way. Boom. Nice. And when I do an image like this where I'm building out from the center, what I like to do is kind of have a little bit of like visual repetition. So I'm actually going to put these bumps on the outside here. And we'll put some stuff in here, and this will kind of give us some room to kind of just jump off from, kind of give us some room to work with. If this were a square and I had these circles on the outside, I'd call it a quatrefoil. I really like that kind of shape, but we can do it with the triangle also. And let's get a hand going up here. I really like having the hand reaching up. That's what we're going to do right now. So we're going to have the hand kind of reaching up like towards the heavens. Kind of fits in with what we're talking about. Just a show about going through my dead grandfather's briefcase and eating monkey brains. You know? One day I'll have it all together and every episode will be like perfectly planned and you'll be like, man, remember when it used to be more of a grab bag? And you'll miss it. So, all right, cool. So we got this hand kind of like reaching up here. And this hand I am going to put inside of a black circle. And I'm going to make this one explicitly like night, like we just talked about with that girl's halo. That picture's on the floor. It actually did come out kind of dope. So I feel good about that. And in here, I'm going to throw down kind of like a night sky in the background. And I've mentioned it before, but I love using night as a visual motif. The contrast between night and day has to be one of my all-time favorite visual juxtapositions. And like in general, you know, I'm always kind of like encouraging other people to be creative. I feel like there's a few kind of like sets of, I don't want to sound super pretentious, but they're not really like opposites. They're more like dynamically balanced. When someone says opposites, I kind of think of like North Pole, South Pole, black and white are opposites, but usually when it's like informational, like night and day or something, I don't like to think of them as like opposites. I think of them as, it kind of sounds pretentious, but they're more like dynamically integrated than that. They're not just like static, you know? It's not like a pair of like balanced scales where like one's on one side and one's on the other. It's more like perfectly, we were just looking at the Chinese stuff. It's more like a yin yang where they kind of are like interacting in some way. And you get a few of these like oppositional like pairs and sets of units that are always fruitful if you have like writer's block or something like that. Night and day is one. The seasons are another one. It's nice to just kind of have these things to like tap into. But I use night and day more than the seasons, honestly. So we're going to throw down these stars in the sky. Kind of be like this hand reaching up into the night. And I also like using like the dark sky with stars motif because it's kind of like it's contained. You know what I mean? Like we always think of night as this big, like the whole night sky, you know, but it's contained. It's like set in this like bubble. Cool. Cool. And I kind of want to work out like more of the composition here too. So actually what I'm going to do, we have this skull in here, but since I already dropped the skull, I don't have to worry about it's like being cliche or whatever. I'm going to put this all into a bigger skull. Yeah. I'm going to come down here with the teeth. Nice. And I have not been looking at the chat, but I will. If anyone wants to ask me anything, we can, but I will look up in a second. Perfect. Cool. Nice. I feel way more stable now. You can imagine me like hosting the show is like, if I don't know what's going to happen next, sometimes I get, not that I get nervous, but I'm kind of like, oh, cool. Like now we're on like the tightrope. Now I feel kind of like stable, so it's not a bad thing to feel nervous, honestly. It kind of like reminds you that you're doing something important. Okay. And I'm going to make this little like night sphere. I'm actually going to set this aflame. I'm going to throw some fire here. Sometimes I get worried about using like cliche picture elements, but sometimes things are cliche for a reason. So I'm going to just throw down the fire up here. And when I do the fire, I like to... Wow, can you guys hear that thunder? It's so awesome. Boom. You kind of got to be careful at the top when you're doing flames like this because sometimes you can get way too much room up at the top. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back down here, kind of just come up from the other side. What I really want to get is one of these little dips. Check this out. I like to come down, boom, and then you get the hook. That's what we're talking about. Nice. And then you can come in. Perfect. Perfect. That was good. I think my dad ate monkey brain once. What's your opinion on chisel brushes for line work? It depends on what we're doing. I really like doing calligraphy with chisel brushes. In case people don't know what you mean by chisel brushes, I'm assuming is like the brush, instead of ending like this is a round brush. The brush ends in like a flat rectangle. So for calligraphy, it's really dope because you can get the chisel writing effect. Maybe I'll do some later, maybe, depending on how much time we have. But for line work, I usually don't. Maybe it's because I'm such a calligraphy-based person that I don't really think of it for line work, but I never really use it for that. And down here, we have this nice long open area. So of course this is still a biblical painting show, even though we're talking about family members and eating monkey brains. So I'm going to throw down the whale. I'm going to throw down a whale over here. Just a nice big whale shape. Boom, perfect. What else is going on in the chat? I thought I wasn't going to be able to make it here, but I am. What's the plan for tonight? Slightly more unplanned than normal. Went through my grandfather's stuff, and now we're doing ink painting. It'll all make sense if you go back and watch it together. I've been waiting for a more Memento Mori type painting on the stream. Yeah, we'll get a little bit of that vibe in here. Hope you're woke on antediluvian high civilization, right? Yeah, actually, unironically, I am. That was a huge part of my vibe, like absurdly large, was the whole like Atlantis thing. Because at first you're like, oh, Atlantis literally existed. Like this was literally real, you know, and you kind of jump off from that point. And not that I'm saying it's not literally real, but then after that, it kind of also functions in this other way where it becomes kind of like a placeholder for, I mean, you can call it like pre-deluge civilization. You could call it like, you know, some kind of like ancient, like like mother civilization or something. I'm going to make a bold move and I'm going to throw down a little bit of a shadow in here behind the skull. So yeah, man, that was like a huge part of my vibe. I'll talk about that more in a second. I'm kind of wondering what I'm going to do with these bumps. I could just put in a motif in here. I mean, that would look very visually striking. I think I'm just going to go with it. I'm going to go with my gut here. In fact, something that I still think about a lot, I don't think I've ever talked about this on the stream, but so I'm going to put in this kind of like bar motif. Sort of like a wave. It's like a wave. I used kind of like the idea of Atlantis for a while because I would say that like the style I was going for, this isn't the case anymore, but it was kind of like a proto style, sort of like you can even just imagine this. It's a good like mental exercise that gets you like your creative juices flowing a lot. But like if you imagine looking at like a lot of great civilizations, like imagine looking at like China, Egypt, Greece, Rome, even Native American stuff if you want, Aztec stuff. If you imagine looking at a lot of like great civilizations like that, and then just play the thought experiment of what if these all were like colonies or seeds that were sent out from some mother civilization, and then you start seeing like commonalities or like you start seeing them a little bit differently based on that. That's like a really powerful like just artistic exercise, is just thinking about that. And I often told myself like what I was going for style wise was the commonalities, sort of like the style. Like if you imagine there's some kind of like proto style that existed before all these like fractured manifestations of this like visual culture that's like scattered around the world, but it used to be like united in like one spot. That was like how I thought of my art for a really long time. Not anymore really, but I still do think of that sometimes. Okay, cool. This is dope. Normally I would put like some kind of tongue down here. That gives it kind of like a little bit of like a freaky, like shamanic flavor, but we actually are going to do that. So I'm going to throw this tongue down here coming out of the skull. I think that is interesting that's interesting for doing spiritual artwork, because on the one hand, like visual styles for sacred art are rooted in like a people and a nation and a civilization, you know, but on the other hand, there's something about like sacred and spiritual art that's trying to speak to something deeper in humanity that transcends those things a little bit. And I feel like playing with that is also really interesting. Like if you think about like, what's a good example? Like if you think about like the Vatican, for example, you know, it's all that beautiful art there, right? And like, is that Italian style? Well, yeah, it's like rooted in Italian culture, and you know, you could talk about it, right? Go on and like, you know, Roman and all that stuff, but like there's also something about it that transcends that, because anyone in the world can go there and see how awesome it is and feel something deep in them get, I don't want to say activated, maybe that's dramatic, but feel something deep in them become, you know, touched. So it's kind of interesting. I feel like it kind of sends off some red flags because it has like a little bit of a globalist flavor when you phrase it that way, honestly, but it's really not what I'm getting at. But I think it's interesting for doing spiritual art because, like I said, yeah, it's always going to be rooted in some type of like culture and civilization, but at the same time, you want to be speaking somehow like deeper than that, to something more like basic about people's humanity. Okay, and I'm going to throw down a pomegranate down here. Pomegranate's kind of like the apple, but it's a little bit more like biblical and classical flavor, honestly. And honestly, I like doing the little crown motif up here. Some kind of fruit or something up here. Nice. Perfect. Cool. And I'm going to take this line up here, and I'm also going to put it across this way. I want to set up some kind of like visual backdrop, but the thing is I don't want to draw a big vertical line here and like cage myself in too much, so we'll see how it goes. Since I'm thinking about natural world stuff, death, interplay of all that stuff, what I'm thinking is it would be cool to have some kind of like bugs or something. Bugs kind of like always like make me think of like the lower aspects of like life and, you know, things like that. So that's what I'm going to put down here. I could put like a ladybug or something down here, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to... Well, we'll come back to that. I'm going to come up here because I feel more strongly about putting like a sun motif or something up here. Boom. You know, it's interesting because what we were just talking about, to kind of take it back to like the original theme of the show, is I really regret that I never got to talk to my grandfather about what he thought about like spirituality and all that stuff. I really have no idea. So I'm painting the sun in right here, and I always like to use these two kinds of rays because it represents the light and the heat of the sun. So you get kind of both aspects in here. When you see it in like older like alchemy drawings and stuff, that's what they're representing when they do it this way. Boom. Perfect. Cool. Perfect. And I guess if we need a theme, I am kind of thinking about everything we've been talking about so far. It's kind of nice that we're doing this way because when you're doing like creative work, especially visually, it doesn't always have to be like, this picture is about winter becoming spring, or like, this is a picture of my grandfather. Sometimes it's like cooler to just kind of have a bunch of stuff like rattling around in your brain and just let it all kind of like come together. Like right now, I'm not even really thinking about like, oh man, I better make sure that I get like X, Y, and Z in here. You know, I've been thinking about all the stuff I've been talking to you guys about all week, and we'll kind of just see how it all comes together like this. It's kind of cooler than doing it some other way. Okay, and I have like room up here to put something in these spots. I could just paint it in black, but then I'm kind of like cashing in like an opportunity to do something visually interesting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these two leaves up here. It's a nice like interesting symbol for life. I like using symbols that inherently have some quality of multiplicity. You know, like you never have one leaf. It inherently kind of implies like a whole larger structure in it. Sort of like a feather. You know, like in the feather, symbolically it has all the qualities that you associate with a bird. It's just like distilled into like this one singular essence. So even though that sounds really pretentious, it's true. Perfect. I'm going to throw down black behind these leaves. So yeah, sometimes it's cool to just have a bunch of ideas rattling around in your brain. I've made some of the coolest pictures I've ever made in my life, just like oh, I've been thinking a lot about, you know, like conspiracy theories about the Titanic, and this girl I just broke up with. I'm just going to like draw a picture right now, and kind of like in a weird way, like all these ideas kind of like come together anyway, because they're all rooted in like the substructure like of your psyche anyway, so it doesn't actually really matter. Perfect. So I'm going to throw down this sun up here. Got like the night in the sun also. It's kind of a cool motif. Dope. But anyway, yeah, I really liked reading. So I was reading that book I was talking about. The beginning was the end. And it really kind of tripped me out a little bit because it was making me think about like myself as like this natural creature. But of course, like he takes like a scientific view of it, but I don't do that. Obviously, I take like a theological view of it. But in the same way, like I don't know, it's just kind of a trip, like going outside and being like, I'm part of nature, but I'm also not. It's also interesting because it's been a long time since I revisited a lot of those like theories about like how humanity originated and stuff like that, and a lot of them kind of like rely on this view of nature where it's like, well, everything in nature is like well integrated and balanced, but like man isn't. And I'm kind of like, is that true? Not really. Like a lot of aspects of nature are like not very well balanced. Okay, I kind of got to make a big decision right now, do something interesting. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw down like a woman's silhouette over here and then have the dress coming down, and that'll be this kind of like pillar area over here, and then I'll do something else over here, and then we'll kind of like expand outward from there. But I'm just going to kind of throw over here with the ear. Perfect. Have you heard Norwegian Nouveau's lecture on time? No, I haven't. And someone said that book was a big influence on Devo. Yeah, it was. There's this other guy. So the other guy I was mentioning, I forget his name right now, but it's Polish. And he was talking about how all of humanity stems from this like post-deluge civilization that was centered around like Easter Island. But the really, which, you know, whatever. But the really cool thing about him is that he kind of like puts it in this metaphor of like humans fighting against what he calls like children of the Yeti, which is kind of like his version of like the Nephilim, where like the whole story of human history is like man versus these like part man, part animal kind of like entities. And he even goes so far as to like go back and look at paintings of like Pan or like Greco-Roman deities and stuff. And he's like, yeah, no, these literally existed. Like creatures like Pan literally existed, and men were like fighting them like back in the day. It's pretty awesome. For me, all that stuff gets channeled into like the Nephilim and stuff like that. I don't even really know what the official like theological position on a lot of the Nephilim stuff is, but obviously I'm really down. I think that's one of the bigger divides for me. Once again, I'm stepping out of my element and talking about things I'm not technically equipped to talk about, but I think that's one of the bigger divides for me between like Orthodox and Catholic theology. In Catholicism, you get like natural theology, right? Because they're like, oh, we can look at nature and deduce things about man and God and how things are and stuff. But I'm pretty sure in Orthodoxy you don't do natural theology because they're like, well, death is unnatural. So the whole natural system is actually not something you can reason backwards from because it's not like supposed to be this way. And I thought that was really interesting. So I'm going to throw down this woman figure. I'm probably going to put some kind of like pattern in her dress. And I like to get that kind of slopey shape. Nice, it's perfect. So we have her kind of like leaning backwards this way. And let's see what kind of patterns I can get in here and make this kind of like visually interesting. Boom. Yes. Nice. I don't really know, honestly, what like the woman represents in my art, but it's one of the more like, it's one of the themes and like symbols I like always come back to, honestly. Maybe it's just because I'm like attracted to women. Could it really be that simple? But I don't really know why I always come back to it. Maybe because it's like one of the most beautiful things in nature. Maybe that's why. Can't really say. Put something in there. And otherwise, I'm just going to give her this nice pattern. With the black and white, I kind of want to get like a dope pattern situation going. If I'm bothering to take a whole episode to get just the black and white situation, let's get it going. Boom. Perfect. And yeah, if you're doing a lot of black and white stuff, it's tight because it kind of forces you to focus on like pattern and shadows and things like that. Actually, it would be really tight if I gave her a shadow behind her. So maybe I'll do that. Boom. Boom. Nice. Just going to come down with this pattern here. Perfect. I thought about playing music behind me while I'm doing this, but then I thought if people didn't like the music, it would kind of ruin the show for them. Ugh, I love black and white. Nice. Cool. And yeah, I guess it's kind of a chill episode, but if anyone wants to ask me stuff in the chat, you can. Okay, so we got this woman over here. Woman, fecund nature, possibly relating to fallen human nature. I'm going to put something in here. I don't really want it to be like pregnant. You know, I could put like a baby in there, but it's kind of whack. I guess we're kind of thinking about man feeling like out of place in the universe. There is that Bible verse. Jesus says, you know, the birds of the air have nests, the foxes of the earth, whatever, have holes, but Son of Man has nowhere to rest his head. Maybe that's kind of the theme of this right now that we're working on. Okay, that looks tight. And same deal. I'm going to kind of give her, let's give her kind of like the teardrop shape halo. It's not a halo, it's just a motif, just to be clear. That looks tight though. I like that line quality. Boom. Perfect. I've been using the teardrop a lot in my art. That looks really dope. Nice. Cool. And like, what am I going to do with this space out here? When I'm working with the black and white, I always want to make sure it doesn't become kind of visually all the same space. You know what I mean? It's really easy to accidentally create a situation where like everything has the same level of detail and then it's not totally clear, you know, where the viewer's eye is like supposed to go. So I kind of want to make sure that doesn't happen. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to throw down the same motif of her dress. I usually think of this as kind of like a wave pattern, but it doesn't really look like a wave at all. And I'm going to kind of just blacken it up right here. I'm going to throw down a moon. Change. We live in the realm of the moon and like alchemy and stuff. Underneath the sphere of the moon, things change. And then beyond that, you get like the eternal universe where things don't change. So even though I don't really roll with alchemy stuff too hard anymore, that's always like kind of what the moon represents to me. That we're down below the moon in the realm of like changeable things. That's how it feels. But then the things beyond that, above that sphere, both like metaphorically and like literally physically, that's where things don't change. Cool. Play Gregorian and Byzantine chants. Yeah, yo, I should actually. I should. Okay, so we got this kind of night sky thing going on over here. And I'm just going to bring it down. It's a really big difference when you're doing black and white stuff. You can kind of feel it, where 1 minute it's black lines on white paper, but then once you kind of like push it enough in a good way, you get the feeling of it's black shapes and white shapes interacting. That's kind of what we want, really. I'm going to tuck this up here. Nice. That looks dope. Kind of don't want to give her an eye, honestly. I feel like it's going to kind of make it too like literal, honestly. And down here, I guess since I was talking about my journey and all that stuff, I'm going to throw down... So here we have an interesting thing. When you're doing the black and white stuff with the shapes, I kind of have to make sure that I don't make a big black shape touching another big black shape. So like, for example, right now, let's say I want to throw down like a city outline, which I do want to do. I think it'll set off with like the teeth of the skull up here. But if I make the city outline starting at the bottom, it's going to touch here, and then it's going to be kind of ambiguous if it's like the back or the front or whatever's going on. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to throw down, I'm just going to use a cheap like get out of jail free card. And I'm going to throw down a little hill right here. Boom. Just going to cut me off there a little bit. And then I'm going to throw down the city outline. I really can like never get away from using that in my art. Maybe it's because it like marks it as something like of now and takes it out of this like atemporal space. Maybe it's because of what cities represent. I can't really say. And I'm also going to discreetly throw down Empire State Building silhouette. Boom. It was crazy driving back through New York after not being there for so long. I tweeted about it, but I was just looking at all the windows in the apartments and I was like, dude, I can't believe I lived here for so long. It's not like shitting on anyone who still lives there or anything like that, but that was just my vibe on it when I went there. And even though I did that, I'm still going to get the touching of the black shapes there, but you know, whatever. Nobody's perfect. Let's just see how it goes. Throw down some windows. It's also kind of like a cheap trick with the cities and the windows and stuff because, you know, inherently when you look at it, you kind of think like, oh, there's all those people in those windows. It's another one of those symbols that kind of implies like something larger than itself that I feel like I lean on a lot. I used to have like a very like antithetical nature to that. I used to be like, oh my God, I always use like that thing. I got to change it, you know? But now I kind of don't. I mean, if you read like a poet's work, like someone like Rilke or someone, like they're often using like the same symbols over and over in different ways. And I think it's kind of dumb to like fight against that. Naturally, people have like a certain like symbolic vocabulary, you know? I was even listening to Donovan when I was on the road trip. I feel like there's just something about his music that I'm like drawn to. And in one of his albums, he like just drops like the same images in like different contexts, and I feel like it's pretty dope actually. I feel like that's part of what I do with my visuals, I guess you could say. Okay. Teenage trad cath girlfriend when? If I had a teenage trad cath girlfriend, there would be an issue because I am not young enough to have a teenage girlfriend. Unless we're going really trad, like 1500s trad. What does your wife think about looking into different Christian churches? She's down, dude. She's totally down. For her, it's interesting because she's very driven by like aesthetics. I mean, I married her, right? Obviously. But it's interesting because like we could like reason out something and then she's like, yeah, but that church looks like really lame. Or like their churches look like a certain way, and like we both recognize it's not like a philosophical argument, but it's just kind of funny. Okay, boom. Okay, I kind of like how this is coming out. I did get a drop of paint on this girl's face, so that means that we are kind of locked into doing something with her face. So I am just going to put the line like that, and then she has like the little beauty marker. Maybe it's a tear. It's kind of ambiguous. Okay, and then what am I going to put on the other side, opposite the woman? I might put some kind of like beast man creature. I saw someone in the chat mention dog man, and I'm kind of feeling that, honestly. So I think I am going to do that. I waited to come over here because I wanted this to be dry. It's not totally dry, but I think it's dry enough. So I'm going to measure out from the top of her head over here, and I'm kind of just going to paint in a dog-headed man. Kind of just going to do that. Boom. So we'll put in the ears. I'm not going to make it like dog man. It doesn't have to be like so creepy. My computer is telling me that it's low on space. It's okay though. Nobody cares. Don't worry about it. Cool. I'll move this so we don't have as much glare. Nice. And I'm kind of just going to come in. Boom. I am going to give it the teeth though. If you do some kind of like beast creature, you really need the teeth. Cool. Someone said this is looking dope. Thank you. I do appreciate the feedback because I'm making it so I can't actually really tell. Boom. Boom. And yeah, it's funny, you know, just to again talk like meta about the show that I'm doing right now. It's funny because like I was saying, like I always want to not be like formulaic. But then if I branch out too far, I'm kind of like, uh-oh, what's going on? And I kind of realized that, like, in a way, I feel like that's probably why Bob Ross always does the landscape stuff, because it's a safe bet in that if you're doing a landscape, you know, you kind of always, like, you know, how wrong is it going to go? Well, you put a mountain in, like, the wrong place or whatever, you know? But it's also interesting enough that you can vary it up indefinitely. And I kind of thought of that. I was like, oh man, that's interesting. It's like a nice like technique. I don't know if he only did landscape paintings on his painting show, but I thought that was interesting. All right, I'm going to come down over here a little bit. It's kind of just like a beast-headed man. Not necessarily a dog. Although I am going to give it the visual markings that my dog has, obviously, because that's the proto dog for me right now. Move the light a little bit. Cool. So I'm going to give it some like spots. I feel like the black spots I'm about to give it are going to give it kind of like a more chill, not scary look, but we'll see. A lot of people seem to be choosing churches simply because based in red pill, bro. Orthodox seems to be the trend. Yeah, that is really interesting, honestly. Well, that's part of why I used to not talk about it online, but now that I'm kind of like more rooted in what I think, I do talk about it sometimes. It's more like people ask me, to be honest with you. But yeah, I mean, I just want to kind of, I've talked about this before, so some people are probably like, oh my God, not again. But yeah, I wanted to make sure I wasn't doing it for those reasons because I'm such an online person, you know. Certain things definitely have more vigor online, I guess you could say. I think some positions are easier to argue in like a certain format. Doesn't mean one person's right or one person's wrong. I feel like in general, maybe this is a controversial statement. I feel like in general, you have like kind of a black tongue just to make sure people know it's kind of like a scary I feel like in general, you know, you can kind of get the like the Catholic and Orthodox position online in general. I feel like you can get it. But I feel like at least in like the Twitter sphere and stuff, I feel like the people who get the least accurate shake are the Protestants.
And I feel okay saying that because, like, I'm not really tempted to become Protestant, to be honest with you. So it's not like I'm, rooting for the team that I'm, like, trying to be on. But I feel like in general, you don't really get, like, the full case. I don't really know why that is. Maybe it's because, like, the meme game. Maybe there's something, like, like lefty memes, like maybe there's something about, like, the Protestant position that, like, doesn't lend itself well to, like, memes. I really can't tell, honestly. But that would be my observation that relates tangentially to what whoever that was in the chat just said. Okay. And I kind of want to give the dog a collar so it looks like a dog. I'm very intrigued by, like, the symbolism of the dog. It's something that I really want to, like, explore more. Because it seems so, like, not theological. It's, like, so domestic and, like, in a way modern. I mean, it's not modern, obviously. But, like, the image of the dog, it, like, relates to your daily life, I guess is all I mean. You see it and you're like, oh, yeah, dogs. Like, I have a dog. Or my friend has a dog or whatever. It seems, like, closer than, like, some, like, ancient biblical symbol or something like that. And I don't want to give him, like, clothes, like, like a suit or something. I feel like that would be a little lame. I'm going to bump up the exposure on the camera really quick and just see what that looks like. Holy shit. Too much? That looks good. We're going to leave it right there. Cool. All right, cool. I'm going to give this guy a body. What time is it? Whoa, it's 8:43. Wow, we've really been chilling. Okay, let's kind of hustle this along. I'm going to come down over here. Cool. Since we've been going for so long, thank you for rolling with a random episode. I feel like every now and then it's good to throw in, but we will return to the normal biblical painting format situation eventually. Cool. Nice. I feel like this is kind of like my version of the landscape. Like I was just saying, like with Bob Ross, I feel like this is my version of the landscape where it's like sort of like a symbolic exploration of like what the symbols mean. I don't really know what word to use. I wouldn't call it like a Rorschach test because it's not random. I'm not like just putting random stuff together like, oh, teapot plus boat means what? But I feel like at the same time, it's not like I'm aggressively like writing a novel with the symbols where it's like, oh, this means this and this has to mean this. So I don't really know exactly what to call it. I'm just going to throw down the black spots on this dog. I guess the fact that he's upright is enough of to make him man-esque. What word would you use for that? Kind of like anthroness. He has a man-esque nature. We'll kind of come in and get a little bit of that brush texture in here. Just a little bit. Cool. I've always found the Orthodox prison cell line is really weak compared to the Catholics personally. Yeah, they have like their crew. I mean, there's less of them for sure. There's less of them. There was a while where I was like just listening to theological debate stuff. Like I'd be at work, like I had this like shitty job, honestly. And I'd be like cleaning up some like machinery. I mean, some people clean machinery and have cool jobs. My job wasn't cool. Just saying, I'm not throwing shade. My job personally was whack. I'd be like cleaning this machinery and listening to these like theological debates from like people online. It was actually pretty awesome and aesthetic, but then I got really sick of it. Okay, so I'm going to come up with the tier drop shape up here. Cool. And I'm going to put something over here. I guess it's kind of cool because city person is kind of like very civilizational, but then we have the animal over here, so maybe I'll make something more more animal-y, something more like natural world style. I guess like the forest is kind of like the opposite of the city in a way, so maybe I'll roll with that. The forest is kind of like the animals version of the city, right? So I'm going to throw down some like big trees and stuff down here. Yeah! Oh, that looks dope. Just gonna get that little like chaotic flavor since we're taking one episode to not do things so carefully planned out and stuff. Boom. I guess we'll go a little bit over our time because it's 8:43. If anyone has a problem, you can let me know. Just gonna go get that little painterly situation. That actually kind of tightened it up a little bit. Dope. Cool. That looks tight, actually. I actually really like that. I didn't really get like the chaotic, like deep, dark nature of the forest that I wanted, but we're gonna just roll with it for now. I'll just put in a little darkness at the bottom. Okay, cool. And since we got the night over here, I could put night down over here also, which would be convenient in terms of the visual, because then it would be dark over here. That's kind of what I'm going to do. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the star instead of the moon. Star is a little bit different. It's less temporal, less illusionistic. The stars don't like come and go away the same way the moon does. So that's kind of why I'm going to do that. Plus, again, star is one of those symbols that implies like a multiplicity. You know, you get the star, you get like everything all together. Like millions of them. It implies like a large number of the thing that you're seeing. Cool. This looks dope. And I'm just going to come in with the blackness over here. Cool. Hope everyone's cool that we took the left turn away from watching me grind up these pigment sticks for like 30, 40 minutes at a time. Oh, I didn't put that bump motif in. Yeah, it's okay. No one's going to notice. It's a perfect example of covering a mistake right now. It'll be fine. But I feel like doing the ink is kind of cool, actually. It's more like drawing than painting what we're doing right now. Cool. Yeah, I see people talking about stuff in the chat. Every time you draw a star, I have this weird moment where I think you're going with the six-sided and I don't like it. Yeah, if you go with the six-sided star, what you got to do is you got to get, you know, like the Star of David is like two triangles, one over the other. Obviously, everyone here knows that. But you can actually make it a six-pointed star that isn't two triangles, and that's kind of how you got to use it if you, in my opinion, if you're not trying to draw like a Jewish like connotation to it. I did that recently on one of the shirts I made. Oh, I got the new shirts here too, actually. They look sick. On one of the shirts I made, there's a six-pointed star, but you kind of push in the little corners on the inside to make it so it's not two triangles overlapping. I'm actually going to do something kind of weird. In these two spots over here, I'm going to put these two eyes, actually. I think that's going to be kind of chill. Let's wrap this up. We'll probably take like 15 more minutes and wrap this up. Boom. Perfect. Perfect. Sometimes I call the eye like the preeminent symbol. It's like the main symbol just in general. Boom. Awareness, humanity, all that good stuff. But to be honest with you, the reason why I went with it here is that I have these two spaces and I thought it would be kind of cool to get the two eyes over each other. Kind of adds like a very humanizing element, you could say. And I have this space above the eyes that I should do something with. So I have this space right up here and this space up here. What am I going to do with it? Can't really tell. I don't want to go with something too small. I'm tempted to use like a lightning bolt or something. That would be kind of cool. I could use like a letter or writing or something like that. I'm not really sure, honestly, so I'm just going to leave it right now. So let's see. It's like 8:50. I got to start thinking about how I'm going to like wrap this up or like what the vibe is on that. I'm going to make the pomegranate black. Pomegranates are really dark, and also I think having something dark visually here in the front and center would be kind of nice. Boom. Perfect. Perfect. Nice. It's kind of simple, but I kind of like how it is right now. Yeah, looks dope. This is cool. Let's see. How else do I want to keep playing this? I'm kind of at this crossroads where like I could keep pushing it and expanding it out. I could keep like tightening it in. What I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go intuitive. I'm kind of lightly put this shape up here, kind of like a wave shape. Perfect. Just to kind of like round it out like compositionally. Yeah, that looks dope actually. Nice. And then I kind of feel like I need something down here at the bottom. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? What we need is just some like visual motifing. I'm just going to kind of take that, called it the wave pattern before. It's not really a wave pattern, but dope. Dope. Cool. And let's see, how else am I going to keep wrapping this up? I'm looking at it on the screen, so I'm seeing the same thing as you are right now. I kind of feel like I could get away with this. Natural world, spontaneity, chaos. I'm going to throw down this lightning bolt over here. I feel like that's pretty tight. And it's kind of like striking him in the head. He has kind of like a painful face on. Kind of all goes together there. Boom. Boom. Oh, yes. That looks dope, but I have to color it in black. I'm going to color it in black so it doesn't draw too much attention to itself. If it's a drawing, then there's like the lines, there's a lot of contrast. But I feel like with the black I can. Yeah. Oh, sick. Okay, now we're pushing it a little bit further. That means I have to have something over here. Lightning bolt. I do have kind of like a lightning bolt other object dichotomy in my mind, but it doesn't really suit this picture. I think I'm just going to put a cloud over here. Just like a cloud over the woman. Kind of fits everything we've been talking about in a way. Nice. Perfect. Dope. Nice. Well, I'm really feeling this actually. And actually I'm going to keep pushing the visual situation in terms of like the motifs and stuff. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to round out the corners of the rectangle, of the corners of the triangle. Because that'll allow me to get a little bit more visual contrast in the center. Great. Nice. Come back and do that line again. Nice. Lately I've really been feeling doing that with the line work. Like coming in and kind of like compounding the shapes, if you know what I mean. Like now when you look at this, I didn't do it perfectly. But you have this like rounded shape inside the pointed shape. Can't really exactly explain it, but perfect. Yeah, that looks dope. That's perfect. It's perfect actually. And let's see, I feel like I'm getting there with this one. I'm going to move this light, so it's going to be a little darker, but there's no... it actually looks really tight with the, like, kind of like in the darkness like we are right now. Very atmospheric. I don't know, I feel like I could keep pushing it though. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, you know what I think? I think I'm going to make something out here on the sides, and then that's going to kind of like round it out, and then we'll probably call it. What I think I'm going to do is... I'm kind of going to cash out. What time is it? Oh, it's not even 9 o'clock yet. I'm going to cash out and just go with the preeminent cosmic symbol for our worldview situation. You know what time it is. I'm going to throw down 2 roses on the outside. You got to deploy it. You got to deploy the standard sometimes. There's a reason they're there. Oh, I really like that dry brush I got. It's a small detail, but I really like that. And I'll probably have to do something to kind of bring it in, but then maybe we'll wrap it up. And I like the low lighting, actually. It's very, like I said, atmospheric. I have to get another light to go behind me, but for now I feel like this is dope. Boom. Kind of going to push the fat lines and like the round kind of chaotic nature I can get with the brush. Boom. Cool. Boom. Cool. Oh, I could leave it like that with a little hook coming out. I could do that. Yeah, someone said monkey brains. You know, honestly, I was thinking about putting like brains or something in here. The problem is, in this mode, brains are actually pretty difficult to render. They kind of like have to be... Actually, I know what we're going to do. I was going to say they kind of have to be in a skull, but that's actually how we're gonna push this a little further. So I'll bring the lighting in a little bit. Cool. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in profile of a skull and then brain in the skull. That's what I'm going to do right now. Yeah, perfect. Oh, this is going to be dope. Thanks for sticking with me for an unplanned episode. Boom. Perfect. And what I'm going to do to make sure it reads as a skull is I'm going to throw down the eye hole. I'm going to throw down the nose. And then I'm going to throw down the brain. Boom, boom, boom. Perfect. I wish I could just throw down pink into this and just color in the brain pink. It would really mess up the whole like balanced visual situation I have going on right now, but it would look awesome. A big part of my like emerging like comic style, I guess you could say, is black and white with like one color. Okay, perfect. And that's perfect because it preserves the dry brush there too. Boom. Let's come in here. Is there anything else we should talk about? Not really. Honestly, like I said, I kind of wanted to go into this one not really knowing how it would play out. I thought we'd talk more about like my grandfather and stuff, but then I was like, I don't know, does anybody really want to hear about that? But I think it is kind of dope unpacking that like briefcase. That was a really cool, like, I feel like that was worth it for the rare video situation. And I guess, I don't know. I mean, maybe I guess I had my reaction. Maybe I didn't have enough of a reaction because I'm like on camera, like making sure I'm talking to you guys, but it's pretty crazy he has these drawings in here. I'm kind of like still tripping out about that. I mean, I don't know how much I played it up, but like I literally never would have guessed in like a million years that he would have those. It's kind of crazy, honestly. Nice, we got the monkey skull. I'm going to lower the lighting even more. We're getting atmospheric in this bitch. Oh, the microphone is blocking the light. Nice. Throw on the other skull, it'll dry, it'll get all matte, and then we'll probably wrap this up. If anyone wants to ask me anything, you can. Otherwise, I'll continue talking about weird random topics. This is like the miscellaneous episode. And then we'll return to hardcore analyzing biblical symbolism next week. Someone said this painting looks kind of Gnostic. Yeah, it kind of does, honestly. It kind of does. It wasn't intentional, though. That's also something that I really want. I'm kind of glad you said that, honestly. That's something also that I really want to, that I feel like is such like fertile territory, is I feel like there is like the esoterica aesthetic that we need to like reclaim. It's not, I'm not talking about this right now, I just made this randomly, but if you've seen the 7 Sacraments image that I made, I put it on Twitter a long time ago, but that's the closest I've gotten to where I'm like, this is both positive theologically, like it's not black magic-y, it's like light, it's not like darkness, it's like light, but it still has that like esoterica aesthetic. And I feel like maybe it's because like part of the esoterica aesthetic is like dark and like darkness and stuff, but I really maintain I don't really think that's like inherently part of it. One of the most like influential books on me, honestly, back in the day, like a really long time ago, was actually a book called Doors of Perception by Aldous Huxley. Don't cringe yet if you're familiar with the book, because basically what I took away from it, what he like posits, and this is like literally like 10 years ago, so like don't judge me, is he says, you know, the things that are part of like psychedelic aesthetic and like the psychedelic situation are also things that are often common in like sacred art aesthetics, like really powerful colors, patterns, and things like that. And he kind of paints this picture where he's like, yeah, these are all like connected for a reason because they're part of this like visionary experience that's like inherent to humanity. And in a way, even though I'm like anti-psychedelics now, I feel like there's an element of that is true if you kind of remove like psychedelia from that equation, because there is something about like, I like using the word visionary for that reason. There's something about like the visionary nature of like really powerful art that I feel like you can take that and remove all these bad things that we've like slowly over time like literally taken a syringe and like injected aggressively into it over like X number of centuries. I really do feel like there's something there deep down like waiting to be uncovered, and like, you know, I'm not saying I'm gonna do it, like especially not like by myself, but like I really do feel like there's something down underneath there that's like the powerful visionary esoterica but still like theological in a way. I mean, I get that vibe from like icon paintings and stuff like that, honestly, where it's just like It's really hard to explain. Like ethereal, otherworldly, but not like in a creepy, weird way. I don't know. I'm not going to ramble on about that, but okay. I'm feeling like we're kind of good here, honestly. Just went on a little rant, but then now I feel like we're good. I'm going to raise this lamp. I'm going to see if we can get no shine on here. Kind of made it worse. Nice. All right, cool. It's a little bit after 9. I think we can call it. I'm not going for some like masterpiece right now, but I do feel like this is kind of dope, actually. I'm just like looking at it on screen right now, so I'm seeing like what you're seeing also. Cool. Yeah, I feel like this is dope. Nice. We had a drawing episode unexpectedly. I guess I should have expected that when I broke out the inks and stuff like that. Okay. If anyone wants to ask me anything else in the chat, you can. Otherwise, I'm going to kind of like monologue, wrap it up, and then that's basically it. Okay, cool. It's funny because I always say like, oh, I feel the need to like wrap up at the end, even though you just watched this. But now I kind of do feel the need to wrap up because that was like kind of atypical. So we kind of went a lot of places there. I liked unpacking that briefcase, but in terms of honestly like what I'm thinking behind the seat here, running the show, I thought that doing a bunch of stuff like this, where we would just like draw a bunch of like bold, fat ink paintings and stuff. This actually, honestly, this came out pretty cool. I might hang this up on my wall. Would be the way to go, but it's too quick. I didn't anticipate the quickness of the ink. You know, like I didn't realize that like, I mean, how long did it take to make this? Like literally like, probably like 2.5 minutes. So I didn't really anticipate that. So I guess that's kind of why we ended up in like drawing world over here. But I don't know. It's kind of interesting for me because, yeah, like running the show, I kind of want to see what I can get away with a little bit. I think maybe, I really like how we have at the end of every month, I take symbols like from the chat. So I feel like maybe like the 3rd episode of every month, maybe that's actually a pretty good idea. I'll try doing something different. That's a pretty good structure actually, because then I have 2 weeks, classic biblical painting style. But then sometimes I feel like experimenting and doing something like totally off the cuff, random, is actually good. Kind of breaks it up a little bit. Like what I'm thinking right now after having done this is that I could take the camera out even further and we could just go nuts on like a giant drawing. And it could be black and white, but like some of the black and white stuff I do here would be pretty sick to do on the stream, honestly. So maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll do like 3rd week of every month, like different materials or like, you know, something like that. Anyway, though, that was kind of cool. It was fun hanging out with you guys. I really enjoy hanging out with you guys doing stuff like that. Thank you for hanging for a random episode. You can feel the unplanned nature of it, I know, but sometimes it's cool. Owen Cyclops, I went on this Gnostic Discord server and the owner who was talking about matter being evil was 5'2" and also had pencil arms and a horse face. Wow, I wonder why he thinks matter is evil. That's really, really funny. It's actually really profoundly hilarious. Nice. Peter M says I'm late. Oh, well, we got you here though, man. Then it's a real official show now that you came in. But yeah. Okay, that's basically it. We're going to wrap it up right now. I don't know what I'm going to do with these, honestly, but they look so sick. Am I right? Maybe I'll just have them around as like aesthetic items. I really liked what Isidore was saying about these and how to use them, so maybe we actually will talk and do something cool with it. But yeah, that was really dope, honestly. It was super fun for me. The 2 hours just goes by like boom. I actually literally can't believe it's been 2 hours. So that's it. Thank you for coming by the studio painting hour, which is actually 2 hours, of course, hanging out. I guess what week is it? I don't even know because I was traveling. Next week is technically the last Thursday of the month, so I think we'll do call-in show next week and then return to biblical symbolism land. That's basically it, guys. Thanks for coming through. I hope you have a great night. I hope you had a great day, planning your day for tomorrow. Thank you for participating in the unfolding battle against evil, of which this is not a part, but this is kind of an escape from. But you know the deal. Now you're going back to it, back to the battle against evil, which we're all going back to right now. The second that I end the stream, thanks for coming by. I love doing this, and I will see you guys on the internet where we all hang out. I'll catch you guys later.